I just don't feel very good.
Ah, buddy, I'm sorry. I know exactly how you feel. I was there last week. Exactly
Well,
last
I
week.
had a little bit of the crud a while back, and it's like I picked it up again. And anyway, I don't feel bad, but I just don't feel energized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hey, Bobby, hold on one second.
All right.
Yeah, hold on one second. I got to give sorry about that. My friend Christina needed something from me. Yeah, it's like one of those days where you just don't feel like everything's in sync, right?
Yeah.
Nope, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Completely agree with you, man. Sometimes you just need a reset.
Yeah. Well, I had the weekend was we had just nasty rainy weather, high winds and what have you all weekend, and wasn't a whole lot I could do outside. So I
Right.
figured I might be rested. I got up this morning. I didn't feel like working out, but I went anyway. Thought that might help. So anyway.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. My wife's a school teacher, first grade, so it could have been something, she picked up from the kids. Her immune system's so strong, she hardly
Right.
gets anything. But
Right.
anyway,
She's been around those walking petri dishes their entire life.
yeah.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry to hear that. So, hey, we'll make this call short and quick, buddy. I don't want to keep you. I want you to get your rest and get yourself recentered. But how did your week end up last week? Was it a good week? Did you consider it successful?
Yeah, it was good. I just disappointed in some of the deals I've got. Just, it's just stuff that's, nothing derogatory against the clients or whatever, but it's just
Yeah.
crappy stuff, just
Right.
hard stuff that's hard. You can get it done, but it's just hard to get done. Let's put it that way.
So every client's a difficult file.
Yeah, it just seems like that's all I've hit lately, and I don't, and I'm getting the referrals from, from the referral agents and all that I'm working or whatever, and, obviously they, and I don't think it's that they're just throwing me these crappy deals either. I've been in that situation before, and I just eventually just say, you know what, I like you as a person, I like doing business, but I got to have some of your good stuff that you're sending elsewhere, because I know
Right.
these aren't the only deals you're getting.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway,
It's just this is just a bad batch of referrals that are coming in.
yeah, it is. Crappy credit scores, crappy properties.
Okay.
Just
So let me ask you this question. Because I've been in that situation many times over. What do you look at as the opportunity when you have a rash of bad clients? Like what do you take away from? Because in my opinion, my business went through those points when I didn't have any business coming in. I thought my business was done, and then next thing you know, I had a rash of clients being referred to me. I always went through these emotions where until I realized that this was all an opportunity, everything that's put on your plate is there for a reason. If I look at my faith and I look at why God put me in this position and why I do things the way that I do them, I really began to develop a layer of faith that said, this is happening for me to teach me something that I didn't know before. And I'm
right.
curious to know if you have that same outlook, and because it can be so easy to fall into that negative, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, frustration, just kind of funk that we get into, unless we look at something and go, oh, there's something to be learned here. And,
Yeah.
and let me just add one more piece, and then I'll let you respond. But early on in my I don't know if you want to call it my upbringing, I was told by my father that people come into your life for three different reasons. You have the people in your life that come into you for a reason, you have the people in your life for a season, and then you have people in your life for a lifetime. And as people come and go, you can start defining your relationships that come and go, and never hold any anger or angst towards them if you learn something about yourself. So there are people that have been in my life that come in for a very short period of time, whether it be a day or 4 or 5 months. If I learn something about it, I can't be disheartened by it because they taught me a reason. There was a reason they were in my life.
Right.
There's people that have been in my life for 5 or 6 years. That's a season. and things, they move, or you just lose touch, and you begin to realize that they were in your life for a season. They taught you something about this period of your life. And then you have those few people that are brought into your life for a lifetime, like your spouse and like your family and so forth. And when you start recognizing and reflecting on that, it makes it easy to realize that there really isn't any negativity with any situation that's brought forth, because it's all supposed to help you evolve. And so when you get into this situation in business, sometimes it helps us to stand back and go, all right, what's the reason right now that I have all these challenging situations with these clients?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think you can, at least I think you can learn from every situation, or have something take away from every situation, and I mean, God puts certain things in your life, like you said, to either challenges or whatever, to for you to learn and grow from,
Right.
And is this one of those? I don't know, but as far as the folks or whatever, I mean, these aren't probably lifetime, referrals or what have you,
Sure.
or friends
Sure.
potentially, so they're
Sure.
seasonal. Call them seasonal, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but sometimes those challenging clients are, sometimes they taught me how imperative it was for me to set the stage, because if I'm going to work this hard, I don't ever want to have it be for nothing.
Right.
Like, and I know sometimes when you work really, really hard and you close the deal, you feel satisfied, but I always took it a step farther and said, if I'm going to work, and it only took me a handful of times to realize that if I'm going to go above and beyond and put every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears into this transaction, I'm going to get something out of it. And in my language, it was always a referral. Right. Now, granted, some of those clients I never really wanted to get a referral from, but it taught me that if I can consult with the client in the very beginning and really understand what it is that I'm about to enter into, then I can set the stage more appropriately. And so it taught me two valuable things. One, the power of consulting in the very beginning, really figuring out what I'm getting myself into, and also setting the stage about how my business works. Because then if you need to tie both of those together, you can get the agreement from that borrower to go, yeah, I know my problems are going to be difficult for you to get done, but if you do it, I'd be more than happy to become a raving fan. And that's what I go back to as being one of the biggest lessons that I learned, which was, hey, if I'm going to work my tail off, I'm damn well going to make sure that I'm setting the stage, because I want this to be a fruit that pays dividends.
Yeah.
But it also taught me how to be a consultant, like how to realize what are the challenges that I'm facing. So I had this journal. I always kept this journal of things that would go wrong, like, oh my gosh, I didn't ask the question about, payroll deductions. Oh, I didn't ask the question about alimony, or I didn't ask the question about, medical bills. I mean, there are always these things that would show up that I would have to learn from. And so pretty soon I developed this like checklist that would simply say, make sure you ask these 5 or 6 questions. These are the biggest issues that you run into. The biggest one was filing tax returns. I mean, it boggled my mind how many times I took on a client and had their tax return, but come to find out the 4506T, one of the previous years wasn't filed. I'm like, you've got to be, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. But I would always just make these assumptions because I would spend so much time building the relationship and never do these checks and balances. So it taught me the power of what it meant to be a consultant, so that I could properly set the stage and manage their expectations, which, we've talked about before, that if you do that correctly in the beginning, it really does pave the way for a much easier and a much more rewarding transaction.
Yeah. Well, I think too, with the group I'm working with right now, the different clients, I mean, as far as the appreciation, I mean, part of the reason I'm doing them is because nobody else either is willing to or can.
Right.
And
that says something, though, doesn't it, brother?
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think at the end of the day, there'll be positive things that come out of it, possibly referrals or what have you. And I don't shy away from asking for them, because even though they may not be the ideal client in terms of credit and income and lack of credit issues, they may have friends that they don't have those same issues, you know. So you
Right.
just don't know.
Right. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
when you get into this funk, and say that again, brother.
I said, at this day and age right now, I mean, I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to turn anyone away per se, you know. I
No,
mean,
no, no. And you shouldn't turn anybody away. Every client is a potential to amplify your business.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Right.
had a loan officer that I was talking to 2 Fridays ago, and he and I were having a conversation. He gets this text message, and he goes, "Oh, good God." He goes, "I got to just tell this lady I can't." And I said, "Well, what's the problem?" He goes, "Well, I've got this client that isn't credit worthy, and she wants to meet me face to face. And I told her already that she wasn't going to be approved for a house because her credit wasn't where it was, but she reached out to me and wanted to meet." And she goes, and he goes, "That's just going to be a waste of my time." And I said, "Time out, brother. Time out. Time out. Time out. Ask yourself this question. You obviously have somebody who wants to talk to you because they're trying to learn and they're looking for guidance and help. True?" He's like, "Okay, I'll buy that." I go, take it a step farther. If you have really bought into this triangle of trust mindset that I've been working with you on, who are you really servicing by meeting her? Are you servicing her, or are you servicing the client that referred you? And he's like, "Oh my God, yeah." Meeting with her actually amplifies the relationship with the realtor, because then I can get her to go back and say thank you, regardless if I'm doing a loan for them or not. And I'm like, therein lies the power. Every client that is referred to you is not about the transaction. It's about doing what's right and getting that person to say thank you to the person that they referred you to. It doesn't mean that you have to meet with everybody, but you have to provide a high enough level of value at some level that they're willing to go back to that referral source. So even if the deal doesn't turn out and it doesn't turn into a paycheck, you've protected the relationship that gave you that opportunity, regardless if that opportunity manifested into a paycheck or not. And it was at that point he sat back and went, wow, I finally get it. Because it was a real world example of what it means to be focused on amplifying your business, not closing loans. And your business is not about closing loans, Bobby. Your business is about amplifying relationships.
This is true.
And so no matter what you run into, no matter what headaches, roadblocks, challenges, it doesn't matter what comes of it. Every opportunity to interact with another human being about what you do is a blessing. It truly is a blessing, because there are people that are starving for that because they're not attractive, they're not referable, they don't possess that charisma that people want to be attached to. And so every client, and I had a book, I mean, honestly, I had it labeled A to Z, and it was every client within a 3-year period of time that I would pull credit on that I couldn't do anything with. Literally couldn't do anything with. But every quarter, I would have one of my team members go through the list and call all those people and get them to say yes or no, that they wanted us to continue to help them. And help them by the sense of following up with them, give them advice. I wasn't going to do anything. I was just going to say, here's the person I would refer you to for credit repair. And we would get into these conversations. And it was amazing that these people who, for a lack of a better term, were cast aside by most lenders just appreciated the follow-up. Now, a large percentage of them never did anything, but it was never about that for me. It was always, please make sure you go back to the person who introduced us and say thank you because we care. And it was amazing how many times that happened. And the referral source where most of them came from, or all of them came from, would always get some kind of an acknowledgement from them saying, hey, I just heard from your lender. And those that were motivated to do something would go back to that realtor. And it was funny because that realtor would call me up and go, hey, Doug, I just heard from so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, I know. I talked to them because we followed up. My closing percentage on that was, maybe less than 15%.
Right.
But the power that it provided to the relationship who sent me that referral was priceless.
Right. Yeah, and again, these are folks that send me business, so and kind of like you. I mean, if I can't do anything with them right away, I mean, I'm coaching them and guiding them and sending them to to a credit repair, credit restoration company I trust, and
Yeah.
so it all well, actually, one of the deals I'm working on trying to get closed next week is one that she came to me, couldn't do anything. sent her to the title restoration company I refer my clients to. She did what they said, got her where she needed to be. Now we're in the final aspects of getting her closed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
awesome. Now, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes you feel good, for sure.
Does it make you feel good, or does it make you feel validated? Does it make you
Yeah.
feel like it makes it more purposeful for what you do? It makes
Yeah.
it more. I mean, when people say like good and nice, I always say that makes me compare it to how I talk about socks.
Yeah.
And the socks, I feel good. Great. Okay, no big deal. When you look at your business, really start analyzing the feelings that you're dealing with when it comes to your client relationships. Because the sooner you can identify the real feeling that you get, you become more addicted to that specific, outcome.
Yeah.
For me, they called it the jazz. I was in this business for 20 years, and as a loan officer, that's a long time to be an originator. I mean, there's a lot of hell we go through. There's a lot of challenges that we deal with. There's a lot of ups and downs. And for somebody to be in this business that long, there's a testament to the way that I approach my business, at least from my heart standpoint. I loved the jazz. And to me, the jazz wasn't the closings. It wasn't the money. In the beginning, it was the money because I never thought it was possible. I come from a family where my dad was a very small business owner, nothing really over the top, and my mom was a school teacher in the city of Detroit, taught first grade and kindergarten. I mean, we were not a very affluent family, but having the money come in was definitely, it was a high for a little bit. The reality set in, and I began to understand the jazz for me wasn't the result. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the freedom. It was, I got addicted, and I say addicted because this is what I love doing every day. I got addicted to when that phone rang and I heard somebody so-and-so said I should call you because they said that you were awesome at helping them buy a house, or they said that you were honest, or all the compliments that I would hear would make me feel really, really good. And that was the jazz that I chased. That was the jazz that kept me going, and that's why I loved setting the stage, because I knew that would be a need that I would search out later, which is that validation. And then I had a friend of mine years ago tell me what the definition of a compliment was. Do you have any idea what that is? Like, how would you define a compliment if somebody asked you?
A compliment would be somebody's perception of how they think of you or refer to you when talking to other people.
Right. And it's exactly that. And then she said to me, she said, it's also something that you already believe in yourself to be true that somebody else recognizes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it feels false. Like if you don't have a very high self-esteem and somebody says that you're super smart or you're super handsome or you're super pretty, you feel a little bit like you're being sold, like they're telling you something that's not true, and therefore you kind of look at them and go, what's your angle? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so when you recognize what your value is, and you know when you show up to the table that you bring something, and then people recognize what you bring to the table and they say it to you, man, that's like bringing it full circle. Like, you know that you're leading with that heart and that persona and that charisma and that intention, and people see it, and it just it just brings everything full circle so that you can operate at I don't want to say at a higher level than most, but you operate with a more intentional purpose, and it helps you deliver that service and that promise that every client is seeking. And everybody is the same. We all want to believe in something that somebody else believes. We all want to be part of this protected environment where we're safe, especially when we venture into things that we're not clear on or 100% educated on, like buying a house.
Right.
If you go to my Band of Brothers Facebook post today, you'll see. Are you on that by chance?
Yeah, I get it every.
Okay. So there was the post that today was understanding the power of using your family and friends and neighbor. And I've said maybe before, I said, I always finish my consultations with, isn't it nice to know you have a friend in the business? And that statement was never designed to say, hey, let's hang out and have a beer. It was a mindset that I wanted my clients to have, because I believe that people want to hang out with people that are just like them. So I did the assumptive close. I always put myself in that role of, I know that I'm going to talk to you like you're my friend, and I'll treat you as such, and I know you'll do the same. That's what makes you so compelled to want to refer me. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not complicated stuff, but definitely something that you have to commit to every time you talk to a client. So I love the fact that you're not going through these struggles with your clients right now, because I think it's supposed to teach you something. I don't know necessarily what it is yet, but from my perspective, that was, that's obviously my experience. But for you, it's a chance to, I'm sure it's a chance to grow and evolve a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, you learn from, keep your eyes open. You'll learn something from,
I call it, don't Charlie Brown it.
this particular situation.
Right. I always told my dog. I always tell the people don't Charlie Brown yourself. Charlie Brown always walked around with his head down on the ground and never really looking up. He always walked around kicking stones.
Yeah.
He did, and that was the.
I know. What'd you get? Like when he went trick or treating, right? What'd you get? A rock?
Yeah. Right. He always got rocks, and it's funny that your attitude and your persona kind of dictate what you get. So if you're sad and grumpy, I'll do this maybe next week, but I've got this list of emotions. I wonder if I can find it. I got to dig it up. Are you on your computer, brother?
I am.
Okay, let me just do something here real quick. I want to see if this helps. Let's go. Emotional. Here we go. No, but you know what? That's not it. Let's see. Emotional. Let's see. All right. You're by your computer?
Yes.
Okay. This is part of my coaching class that I used to teach. So it talks about an emotional gas gauge. Are you seeing it on the computer?
Yeah, I got it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where do you think you have to be, or let's say your clients instead, where do you think your clients have to be on this scale of 1 to 21 for them to refer you? Where do you think they have to view your business and how you did it? If you were to pick a number from 1 to 21 and it defined your client's feeling about you and the way you handled their transaction, where do you think your client minimally has to be in order to be a referral source for you?
I would say a 10.
Okay, so at least at encouraged, that's where you think the minimum standard has to be in order for you to be able to get a referral from either a client or a realtor.
Right.
Okay, I agree with you. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. So when you look at your business, do you think that you at least have to be that every time you talk to your clients in order for them to be that?
No, I feel like I'd probably need to be better than that.
Okay. That's the mindset shift that I want you to recognize. I always believed that every client needed to be number 5 and above in order for me to get a referral from them. That meant that in order for me to get them to that stage, I had to be at that mindset. I had to act like I was elated to get their business. I had to act like I was elated to work with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in order for you to be attractive, people are going to be drawn to your, to your emotional level. And if you are that way, they're going to be that way. And if they're that way and you believe that that's where they have to be in order to be a referral source for you, you're going to show up in your dialogue with your client, at least in that mindset. And a lot of times we come into our client situations and we're less than that. I think about if you show up to your life, and I'm not saying work, just life. If you're walking through your life, number 14, anxious, Do you think a client's going to be attracted to you if you're that way?
No, absolutely not.
Heck no. But how
No,
many times
it's
do, how
all
many times?
about perception, right? I mean,
Oh,
it's about being with for
like-minded
lack of
people.
a better term, the rich and the famous. I mean, it's you know what I mean. It's that
Yeah.
they want to hook their wagon to the folks that they're excited to be around, and they're
People,
going to be able.
it's a survival tactic, Bobby. We are all drawn to those people that make us feel good about ourselves when we're with them.
Right.
I feel that way when I'm with Kevin Broughton. I feel that way when I'm around Scott Hudspeth. I feel that way when I'm around Carl White. I feel that way when I'm around Tammy Schneider. I feel that way when I'm around Owen Lee. I feel that way when I'm around my wife. I feel that way when I'm around my good friends. I mean, these are the people that, that make me feel good about myself. That's why they're in my life.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily associate ourselves with people that are Debbie Downers. We don't want to be around those people for a variety of reasons, right?
Right.
So when you look at yourself and we talk about why our businesses are struggling, it largely has to do in part to the way we view our life. The exercise about the emotional gas gauge is a much bigger one because it talks about your family and your money and the wheel of life. And that whole concept about, if you're genuinely anxious about your life, you're going to show up that way with your clients. But if you're elated about your relationships and your finances and your overall view of your world, that's what's going to make you more attractive to people, and people are going to be drawn to that. Again, not necessarily because of rates and fees. They're going to be drawn to you because they want to be a part of something that makes them feel good for the choices that they make, and that's where you come in. So if you take anything away from this call today and you realize that if I'm not elated or joyful or happy or pleased or satisfied or encouraged or the above, then you're probably not doing yourself any service because your clients are going to pick up on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And you come across as being
you take on. It's kind of like where you're around somebody long enough or over time, and they're
yes.
you pick up or tend to act or react or take on their mindset, right?
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not saying it real.
Yep, you mirror. It's called mirroring.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you pick up on it when you put a row of people together and you put them in the same, you put them all in the same row. After a certain period of time, everybody picks up the same mannerisms. Like if one guy crosses his knee left to right, pretty soon the next guy over crosses his leg left to right. And if one guy's leaning forward, then the other guy's going to lean forward. I mean, it's a proven fact that when we mirror, we feel in sequence. We feel part of something. That's why we do it. That's why nonverbal communication is so powerful, because it allows you to feel connected without using words, and that appeals to another part of our body or another intellect that we have. Mirroring is so, so, so important. Nobody wants to be around Debbie Downers. Nobody wants to be around people that are negative. I frankly am, for example, if I walk into a restaurant and I sit down and the waitress seems annoyed or the waiter seems annoyed, I'll ask the manager for another waiter. And the reason I do that is because when I'm eating with my family or if I'm eating with my friends, the person who's serving you needs to be at least at the same level that you're at. Meaning, I don't want to engage, because then at the end of it, I'm going to feel horrible for not tipping them the right way. And I just don't feel like I should be taking money off of somebody else's plate when I'm eating at their restaurant. So I always ask for another waiter. And I'll simply say that, you know what, it's just something that I prefer. And sometimes it's met very aggressively, and sometimes it's met with, I'm sorry, sir, that'll be more than happy to fix that for you.
Right.
And it's just one of my standards. Like if I'm somewhere and I'm feeling good, I sure the hell don't want to be held captive to somebody for an hour who's just annoyed that we're there.
Right. Or got screwed on the last table, didn't get the right.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to do with me and you. And sometimes I try to find what's going on. I always try to turn around and acknowledge them and maybe dialogue with them a little bit and ask them how their day's going. And sometimes it changes, but sometimes I just am not in the mood. So I simply say, I just don't want to deal with it. And so it's funny because, you know, it makes me realize that this emotional gas gauge is so vitally important in our businesses, that if we're not clear, and I mean crystal clear, on how we show up to our clients every day, then we should start with how we think our clients should feel about us to get them to refer us.
Yep.
That's my 2 cents for today, brother.
Well, it's a good 2 cents. It's more than that, though.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Hey, and you're not asking for change, so I can't be too bad.
Yeah, true.
So, hey, give me one thing that you're going to do this week, that when we talk next week, that you're going to say it was a successful week. Like, give me something that you're gonna commit to.
I'm going to commit to finishing up my my updating of my, and you're probably familiar with at least the term, the DSP.
I sure am.
Yeah, just I've been kind of working on that, tinkering with it, you know, playing with different things, and so anyway, I'm trying to get that nailed down so I have a little more self accountability.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So what's the result that you're going to have by the end of the week? Like, what's the result that you're going to look back and go, got it. This is the result, not the action step. What's the result?
The result will be the DSP that I'll follow week in, week out, day by day.
Okay. So you have a week. So every day this week you'll have done exactly what you committed to.
Well, no. What I'm saying is I'll have my DSP to the point in finalized where you know, that point forward I will get, you know, day in, day out, week after week.
Got it. All right. Now that makes sense to me. Okay, brother. Understood. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you the same question on Monday and say, tell me how your last week went. I want to hear the truth.
All right.
Awesome, brother. Have a great rest of your week, my friend. Thanks for spending the half hour with me.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll send the replay out as soon as I'm done converting it.
All right. Sounds good.
See you, buddy.
See you.
All right. Bye-bye.